Do you even lift? In this YouTube video, we're gonna talk about the fact of why you probably don't even look like you lift, despite spending years in the gym, a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and effort going into that very thing, but it doesn't really look like you have the results in which I know that you want, and other people may not even notice that you take care of yourself. And this silent pandemic, or training without progress, is something which I see so many 30s and 40-year-olds struggle with. And in this very video, we're gonna break the cycle by giving you the implementable tips and tricks so you can stop this once and for all and actually start to see an ROI on your hard work. Because let's be really, really honest, in any other area of your life, you simply wouldn't expect that level of transaction or lack thereof when it comes to your results. You wouldn't be cool with the fact of spending so much time, so much effort, so much energy, so much money, so much blood, sweat, and tears into something which was not really giving you a tangible ROI in the way that you look and the way that you feel. And look, we can all kid ourselves and say things like, I go for mobility, I go for health, I go to feel better mentally. Of course you do. And those are the things in which the gym can give you. And exercise improves the endorphins and the blood flow to the brain and all the rest of it. But let's be really honest. The reason why we go, and a big reason why we do so, is to change the way in which you look and all the positive downstream effects on confidence, on the way in which you present yourself to the world, and indeed just the way you feel in the bathroom mirror each and every morning, because it's important to you. And even though we can say things like, it doesn't matter how I look and all the rest of it, it actually does. It does. And that's the reason why you started to go to the gym in the first place, to improve your appearance, to improve your confidence, and indeed to achieve a better body composition with less body fat and more muscle tissue. Now, if that hasn't happened, I'm afraid that your favorite influencer who's telling you that half the battle is just showing up is full of crap, because it's not. And you don't actually get points for just turning up. You don't get points for ticking the box of going to the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week, if you've really got nothing to show for it. And by the way, I'm now not talking about you being a massive bodybuilder with traps out to here and forearms which are gonna split open your shirt sleeves. But what I am talking about is the ability to really notice that you're the sort of person who takes care of yourself, who goes to the gym, who gets some great results, and ultimately is a bit of a head turner and looks very different from the standard person walking down the street who very clearly doesn't eat right, doesn't exercise, and just doesn't take care of themselves. That is not what you've signed up for. And if you have a physique which resembles that and you're trying really hard, we need to fix it, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. But super quickly, if this is the first YouTube channel in which you've stumbled across with my stuff, my name is Sharif Lawton, working with men and women in their 30s and their 40s, high-level CEOs, entrepreneurs, busy mums, dads, and just people who need to get a fantastic result, but yet don't have all the time and availability to put in the gym, potentially compared to when they were in their 20s. I run a coaching company called 23 Lean, whereby we focus mainly on the 23 hours of the day in which other coaching companies leave you completely unattended for, not just the 1 hour in which you're in the gym. Nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, all that good stuff is optimized to make sure that you get a round-the-clock result rather than just being beasted by your personal trainer for an hour in the gym. So let's get one thing really clear from the get-go. The type of person who oftentimes struggles with this very thing, they're not lazy, they're not unmotivated, far from. It is just a case of misdirected effort. They are focusing on the wrong things. They are not really focusing on the things which are going to move the needle for them, and instead they're getting caught up in shiny object syndrome, they're not nailing the basics, and they're being inconsistent with the things which are going to consistently actually get them a good result. Now, training without progress, or do you even lift mode, has clear symptoms, and I want to go through them just so that you can see, oh gosh, this actually might be me, and you might have not even realized that it was up until now. And the first thing is a preoccupation with flashy items, the shiny object syndrome, basically chasing the very next best thing, be that the Instagram workout which your favorite influencer is telling you what to do, or a special supplement in which you think is going to just transform your physique once and for all. Or maybe it's a case of nutritionally some crazy concept, be that only eating meat, never eating vegetables, fasting for 20 hours a day. If there is something like that which you feel like you're missing and you're constantly hopping on that trend, then it's likely that you have one of these physiques whereby nothing really sticks and you don't look like you lift. The second thing is a massive avoidance of discomfort. And before I took the coaching business online and is in the position right now to coach hundreds of men and women across the globe, I used to be that one-to-one personal trainer in a gym and have seen the way that most people train. And we've talked a lot in the past about intensity, about effective reps, about training to failure, or at the very least close to that. And what I see time and time again is people are very bad at this. They are not good at training to failure, and it's because they're avoiding discomfort. And it's that whole thing of the last few reps, the reps you really don't want to do. They're grindy, they're slow, they're sticky, they feel painful, and they put you in a massive amount of discomfort. Those are the ones which are actually shaping and changing your physique and your physiology, and missing out on those reps is leaving so many gains on the table. I'm sure you can appreciate 3 sets of 12 on a bicep curl whereby you could have done 15, 20, 25 because the load was so light, versus 3 sets of 12 whereby the last rep is so slow, sticky and grindy, that gun to your head, you couldn't possibly get another rep in, is going to have a very different effect on the way in which you look. The third thing, which often messes up intermediate and advanced lifters, is overly complex programming. You're forgetting the basics, and essentially what you're doing is just focusing on things which might give you a 1% extra increase in gains or what have you, but you're missing out on the 98%, the big rocks, which are actually going to always move you forward, okay? Training hard and training for a result are two completely different things. And oftentimes you need more consistency versus novelty when it comes to training progressions, different bits of kit and all the rest of it. And you need to get very good and very consistent at the basics which are going to move you forward. And that might be movement patterns, that might be the way in which you choose to progress, that might be a whole bunch of other things. But oftentimes when you try and really complicate the process of muscle hypertrophy and growing tissue, you actually just end up spinning your wheels and getting nowhere fast. And fourthly is a massive lack of tracking progress. If you're not assessing, you are only guessing. And again, the difference between people that come to the gym, get a great result, and are treating their training and their body more like an athlete, knowing when to push, knowing when to pull, versus someone who is just ticking the box of exercising and getting to the gym 4 times a week, I guarantee you the way in which they look will look completely different. And look, if you are brand spanking new to the world of training and all that you've done before is sit on the couch and done nothing, yeah, absolutely, getting to the gym is going to be so much better than that. But you'll soon find that unless you do things right, you will just tick the box of going to the gym with very little to show for it. Because make no mistake about it, your body doesn't want to be lean, tanned, jacked and toned, right? Just because you do. It sees muscle as quite an expensive commodity, which by it would really rather not have that much of compared to fat mass. Now, if you want a low body fat percentage and a high amount of muscle tissue, you really are going to have to push your body outside of its comfort zone. And just going in there and feeling like you've been hit by a bus is simply not good enough because you've got nothing tangible to actually track. You want to have crystal clear numbers, certainty and clarity so that you know that, right, my bench press has gone from X to Y, my dumbbell press has gone from X to Y over the course of a training block. Because without that, you have no idea if you're actually getting stronger, if you're actually being able to lift with more reps, or if your tempo and mind muscle connection is getting better, which are all clear KPIs of progress. So rather than how battered can I feel after this workout in the same kind of mind frame as exercising, getting all hot and sweaty like a Barry's boot camp, we actually want to start thinking about training and the logical and tangible progression of your key lifts. And all of these things are symptomatic of a physique which doesn't look that good despite you trying really, really hard. Now, the good news is that if this is you, and if you're like, oh my gosh, this is me, I can totally see myself in this, I'm a little bit embarrassed right now because I'm actually putting in a lot of effort and it doesn't really look like that, then I'm also going to give you the solution, not just diagnose the problem. So take some notes and let's dive straight in. The first way to start making some real gains and to start looking like you lift is start to get very good at the compound lifts which suit your physiology and your physique. Now, as a bit of a blanket statement, I don't like my 30s and 40-year-olds to be heavy barbell back squatting or deadlifting from the floor. And of course, there are going to be exceptions to that rule, but you do have to think about longevity and you do have to protect the lumbar spine, posterior chain and what have you. And if you're banged up and injured or can't recover, then you're not going to be able to get that frequency, which we talked about last time, which was so important to get you back into the gym. Now, with that, you want to find compound exercises, and compound by that I mean more than one muscle group being trained per lift. So something like a pull-up, which is going to work the entirety of your back, versus a cable pullover, which is just going to be a lat dominant exercise. So once you've found the 5 to 6 compound movements which are going to suit you and your physiology, then you want to get really good at progressing them. You want to tangibly say over the course of time, not necessarily session to session, but over the course of time with the same form, I'm able to do either more reps or more load with that exercise. And I guarantee you that if you can say yes, and if your form is standardized across the board, your pec, pecs, your back, your arms, whatever it may be, will absolutely have grown because you are applying the progressive overload principle, which so many people forget about or indeed just overcomplicate. Secondly, when it comes to your training split, there's no need to overcomplicate things. I want you to either pick a full body training split, an upper lower training split, or a push-pull legs training split, depending on how much time and energy you've got in your week to allocate to the gym. Don't worry about certain days for certain muscle groups and high days and low days and volume day and intensity day and whatever it may be. Just pick one of the three I've given you. And in fact, just shoot me a message on Instagram. Just DM me the fact that you've gotten this far through the video and you'd like just a sample routine to plug and play into your own routine. Just hit me up with a message of either push-pull legs, upper lower, or full body, and I'll send you one over completely for free to stop you messing about and to actually allow you to have something which you can just plug and play and start getting some great results with. Just message me at Sharif Lawton on Instagram and I'll send you one through so you can start following something which is actually going to drive your results forwards. So we're going to track the weight lifted, the exercise in which you're doing, obviously, and the number of reps and sets which you are now doing per that exercise. Now, you can get free apps on the App Store which are going to automatically calculate your training volume, and as long as that's going up over the course of time and you're being safe and injury-free, safe to say you're going to get some absolutely fantastic results, so that we know it's going to have an impactful result on your physique. And talking of tracking, we do want to be taking progress pictures. Yes, I know everyone finds them really embarrassing and a little bit awkward and what have you, but ultimately, again, if we are not assessing, then how are we going to be progressing? The way in which I like my guys and gals inside 23 Lean to do so is have a natural light source like a window, a phone facing them or camera phone, what have you, and then just them, and no crazy downlighting to make them look better and different shadows and what have you. And that is a surefire way to know if your physique is progressing or not when it comes to either fat loss or indeed building muscle tissue. You can take these bi-weekly and store them in a little folder. But again, if 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks plus have gone by and you look exactly the same, I would say something is off with your training or nutrition, and you need to circle back to this video to identify which factor it's going to be so you can actually course correct. And then lastly, most impactfully, we're going to focus on progressive overloads. We're going to actually have a system which you can use to know exactly when to progress your reps, when to progress your sets. And depending on the coach and who you can talk to, honestly, this can get very, very complicated, or you can have a very simple, a very straightforward, but a very potent way of actually programming your sets, your reps, your loading, your progressive overload, so you know exactly when to increase the weight, you know exactly when to increase the reps, because again, without that, you're just guessing. And either you're gonna progress too fast, too soon, burn yourself out, and then you're not gonna be able to do anything. And then you're gonna have to change programs again and again and again, leaving you to spin your wheels and get nowhere fast. Or you're gonna have no progression model in place and you're just gonna fall into the trap of going to the gym, feeling like you've done something, but actually you have nothing tangible to show. And this is why all my guys and gals inside 23 Lean have a crystal clear progression scheme, which they can just plug and play, and they know exactly when to increase the reps, when to increase the load, and they do so without getting injured or hurt. And so that over the course of their training block, we can see the key core lifts have gone up, and guess what? Their physique looks different. Now, of course, in this video, I've talked mainly about training because I see that as one of the key core things that people just absolutely mess up on. Of course, nutritionally, if you're not eating enough protein, if you're not eating enough calories for your goal, if you're not eating single ingredient, whole nutrient dense foods, if you're drinking too much booze and doing whatever you want on the weekend, you know, all those things are very obviously going to screw up your progress and stop your progression dead in its tracks. But I can talk to you about that in another video because right now we're just now focusing on the training aspect of why you might not look like you lift. So in conclusion and wrapping up, do you even lift mode or training without progress doesn't need to be something in which you tell yourself is on the cards for you for the rest of your life. It doesn't need to be something whereby you can't actually fix. You need to diagnose which part of the problem you're experiencing right now. Is it the fact that you are addicted to shiny object syndrome and you're jumping from one thing to the other? Is it the fact that you don't track anything and you have nothing tangible to go against as to whether or not you're actually making progress? Or is it just the fact that you love to overcomplicate things and never really focus on the basics which are going to move you forward? Once you understand what the roadblock is, obviously you can put the steps in place which I've given you to course correct fast. And don't forget as well, progress isn't linear. Some weeks you're going to feel like you're absolutely on top of the world. The next week you might pick up a little bit of a niggle or an injury, or you might have some travel or some work come up or what have you. But as long as you know that over the course of time you are progressing because your physique is looking different and you're progressing in the gym, then safe to say you are going to be moving forward at the best rate. And one of the things in which, and I would say this because I'm a coach myself, but I've invested thousands into business coaches, into physique coaches when back in the day when I was learning this trade on my own. And it's the fact of having someone impartial to look over your progress, to make sure that you're not second guessing yourself and actually you're moving forward at the right rate. Someone to be like, no, actually stop overcomplicating it. You're doing things correctly. We just need to be doing 1, 2, 3 things. Or sometimes someone to be like, no, do you know what? There's more in there. There's more in the tank. And actually you're missing out on X, Y, and Z. That is absolutely just invaluable and something which I will always have in my life. And if that is you and you've been thinking about coaching and wanting an extra pair of eyes on your progress, be that if you're an intermediate lifter or an advanced lifter, but someone who hasn't really seen the progress in which they want to with their physique, it's likely that you are missing something which I've been talking about in this video. And look, I get it, it's very hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. And especially if you are a high performer with 101 million different things to focus on, be that work stuff, family stuff, social stuff, it can become a bit of a trap when it comes to your training and your physique to just get into the gym, tick a box, but actually not really get anywhere. So if you did want to explore coaching options, go ahead and just book in a call with myself. We'll literally have a conversation one-to-one so I can find out a little bit more about you. You can ask any questions that you want about the coaching program, how we do things, how we get such great results, and then we can potentially discuss if we're now going to be a great fit to work with one another, or at the very least I can send you off on your own way and tell you the things that you're potentially getting wrong that you can go away and plug in on your own. It's a bit of a win-win situation here. Oh, and by the way, if you did want to explore coaching, but you didn't even want to jump on a call because you're a little bit shy or potentially you're a bit time strapped, just go ahead and click the link in the description box below and you can download a PDF explaining more about the program, what we do, who we help and all that good stuff, and basically get back to me in your own time. But team, for now, I'll love you and leave you, and I'm really hoping that this video fixes the do you even lift problem which you're currently experiencing right now, because hey, what is the point in not getting a result in which you're actually putting in the work for? Do make sure if you're not done so already, make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.